How do you know you belong? How do you know someone else belongs? From our gospel reading for today, what we're going to be taking a look at are those sheep that Jesus mentions. They are Jesus's sheep, those who belong to Christ. And there's a lot to unpack about that, but there is one question that often gets asked before any others, and that is, who are the sheep? Is it us? Is it me? Is it someone else? That person over there? How do you know for sure who the sheep are? We can look at this text and look at the world, and I think there's a tendency when we do that to try to figure out if there is a way to know for sure who is one of Jesus' sheep, who belongs, or even sometimes if we are. How can we figure it out? How can we know for sure? And to be honest, that's a temptation I find myself drifting towards from time to time. Just in general, I sometimes get uncertain about if I belong or where I fit in. And when that happens, I want something to point to. The more concrete, the better. A membership, right? Or a familiarity with the group or the place, right? Knowing people who are there, or knowing where things are, gives that sense of belonging, a confidence in the place I am or the particular group that I'm part of. And sometimes it might be a little less defined than even that. It's just a feeling or a sense of security there. But the fact remains, like, I want to know if I belong. And I don't think that's an unusual thing to wonder about or even question. But really, that's the wrong question, especially when it comes to Jesus. Because ultimately, asking that question leads to us judging, either judging ourselves or worse, judging someone else. Now, that doesn't mean that anything goes, not at all. It's just to say that we don't decide or decipher who's in or who's out. That's not our job. Well, we might look at this text and say, well, what about, they follow me, they hear my voice. Shouldn't we be concerned about those? Or maybe use that as the sort of litmus test for the group, who the sheep are. Not necessarily. If we take a look at the text, the hearing and the following come from just being those sheep, right? They're not preconditions for being the sheep. That's what the sheep do. The only thing that we really see is Jesus calls them his own, right? They're mine. And following the good shepherd and hearing that shepherd's voice are the results of that belonging. That's what the sheep do. Think about it this way. How do you know the voice of your family and your friends? By being family and friends, right? By talking, by listening to those people, that group, right? And when do you start to know those voices and those people? Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? How we can belong before we're even aware of belonging, right? We're part of a family from the moment we're born, and we make friends, we make those connections before we can even create long-term memories, right? Meaning that we do make those connections, and we are known and know before we really know how to know. That's a fun concept. But yeah, Jesus is the good shepherd. Jesus knows the sheep. My sheep, he calls them. And there's a belonging there. No one snatches them out of his hand because Jesus has got them. Jesus has got you. The sheep, we, are under the protection and care of the good shepherd. And there is assurance and security and peace in that belonging. So, who belongs? It's the wrong question, and we need to stop asking who's in or who's out, and just rest assured in our own belonging, because Jesus said so. It takes a little bit of letting go to do that. Letting go of uncertainty or insecurity, letting go of judgment or self-judgment, maybe letting go of the worldly if-then mentality, that conditional element, or the idea that we have to earn it. It takes some letting go of feeling like we have to prove something or have to be something else or someone else or more or better. It takes some holding on too, though, some reminding, some holding on to the promise that Jesus has got us and that nothing and no one can snatch us away, because what Jesus has is greater and more powerful than everything in this world, than anything. And nothing is going to take away what belongs to Jesus. It takes some remembering of the promises of life abundant, life eternal, remembering to listen for Jesus' voice and trusting in the steps that we're called to follow. This is God's family. This is Christ's flock of sheep. Jesus knows you. You are known by the Good Shepherd, and you belong. So rest assured in that belonging. You belong because Jesus said so. Amen.